Got the brew kit and the lunch packed up. Let's mooch. Hello lovelies, thanks for joining us. We're just out on a gentle woodland wander to enjoy a lovely day and hopefully to find a nice peaceful place to sit and make a brew and enjoy our lunch in with nature. Plastic rubbish. Maybe balloons. Pack that out, I guess. Psh. This'll do, I reckon. There's a lot of little gullies in this part of the woods where they used to do stone quarrying in these parts. And these spots are quite nice and green and peaceful and quite secluded. Let's get a brew on then. Got all the necessaries in here. My cup, my coffee, the coffee making thingamy, kettle, bit of milk and sugar, a little spirit burner inside the bag, inside the kettle. This is my little steel pot stand, comes flat packed, also acts as a bit of a windbreak for the burner. I'm using a bit of methylated spirits for the burner. Don't need too much, just for a kettle. Fire her up. And job's a good one. Load up the coffee press. And wait. little treat? There's a fox around here somewhere. Pretty close. Better keep hold of Minnie. Luckily, she's more interested in her treat than she is in that noise. Also, because she's well used to hearing foxes. The kettle's boiling. I think he's right up there somewhere. Where is he? He's so close. He's a noisy old fox. I can't see him though. Nobody's answered him yet anyway. Oops. Perhaps he'll come down for a cup of coffee. Just put my lid on because I don't want any honeydew falling out of the trees. Honeydew might sound nice and sweet, but honeydew is actually just aphid shit. Don't really want that in your brew, do you? And if he finds chicken sandwich as interesting as Minnie. Chicken sandwich? Oh yes, you want some, I know. Mm-mm. It's a very nice spot to sit and chill. snaffle a couple of King Alfred's cakes for the kindling bag. I was just enjoying that moment of peace and calm. And it was just me and Minnie and the fox barking. And just suddenly, the peace was shattered with the appearance of a very friendly little young dog. And he came to say hello, but who Minnie, being very defensive, decided to have a good old bark at, which then attracted the attention of the gentleman that was out walking the other dog. He then stood and stared at me from a distance for quite some while. I think he thought I was probably up to no good. And as beautiful as this place is, and as lovely to have access to it, I do envy those folks that have got access to true wilderness, where you can be out for days, not see anybody. You can really get away from it all, them all. So it kind of broke the moment a bit. So we've moved on. But we did have a nice, peaceful time. Just me and Minnie and Foxy. Nice quiet glade. The thing about England is that you're never really very far from a footpath or a track or a road. There's no real wilderness as such anymore. There are some lovely places, beautiful coastlines, forests and typical English countryside. But if you're really seeking that sense of solitude that only true wilderness can provide, where you may not see anybody for days or weeks even, then the chances of finding that in England are pretty slim, I reckon. Because, like I said, you're never very far from a path or a road or some sign of civilization. Sure, you can go stealth and hide away, but the chances of seeing somebody else are far higher than they are in other parts of the world. I have found some places, and I definitely know of places in Wales where I've had that experience of at least feeling that I was the only one around for quite some way. But all the while, I knew that inside of a day, I could walk to a road. I could probably find somebody somewhere, and it wouldn't take any longer than a day. If you expand out to include all the British Isles, to include Scotland, then Scotland's probably the nearest we've got to wilderness. There are some bigger, wilder places there, and the Lake District. The Lake District can be a bit busier for people, but certainly parts of Scotland you can get away from it all. And I know there are some parts where you could probably avoid peopling for 2 or 3 days at least. And there are some parts where it might take you 2, 3 or 4 days to walk out before you reached a road or a farm or some other form of civilization. But that's Scotland, and it's quite away from here. It's certainly too far away to go for less than a few days, in my opinion. So it's not always easy to find complete solitude, if that's what you're looking for, which I often am. And I can tell you a little story about a time once when I thought I was really out in the wilderness, up on top of a mountain in Wales, thinking we were the only people for miles and miles. But as it turned out, we were wrong. So it was late summer, early autumn, I think, and we were doing a 2-week backpack across the peaks in North Wales on a mountain range called Drum, which is actually spelt drum, D-R-U-M. And we were walking all the peaks right the way round past the coastline and following the whole range. And in certain places during the day, we might bump into the odd hiker or a pair. I think we bumped into a small group one day, but a lot of the time we didn't see anybody. And then one day, the weather had been a bit rough. It'd been raining, got very windy, and we were looking for a place to set up camp for the night. And we came across a sanger, one of the stone shelters that you find out on the mountains sometimes, like wind shelters, a kind of stone-built, horseshoe-shaped shelter that always offers really good protection from the wind. And although they're not typically very big, we thought we might just about be able to squeeze our little tent in there for a bit of extra protection over the night. And that had been the plan. But we decided to at least make a cuppa and get out of the wind for a while and sort ourselves out. And then the night was starting to draw in, so we thought we'd better get our kit together and start thinking about putting the tent up before it got too dark. When all of a sudden, from out of the dusk, there was a little flash of light, and then we heard, "Hello?" which of course made us jump a bit, as you can imagine. when you think you're miles from anywhere, and up there all on your own some. So we stuck our heads out the top of the sanger to be met by the silhouette of a tall, skinny bloke wearing possibly the biggest backpack I'd ever seen in my life. And the silhouette said, "Good evening, may I join you?" Which came as a bit of a surprise. We weren't expecting to see anybody, you know. It turned out to be a young German lad who was also out backpacking the peaks, and he seemed very pleased to have found some company. So he asked if he could join us in the sanger for a bit of shelter, I thought. But as it turned out, he was, I think, hoping that he could join us for the rest of the walk. But although we, of course, gave him a cuppa, and we also gave him the sanger for the night while we camped outside of it, we had to politely decline his company in the gentlest way possible, of course. But we really weren't looking for extra company. We were looking for as much solitude as we could get. So following a bit of breakfast in the morning, which we shared, we parted ways. We adjusted our route to follow a path a bit less travelled. But it just went to show that even in the middle of the night, on the top of a mountain, you still can't guarantee you're the only one there. You still can't guarantee complete solitude. So I hope that if you live in a part of the world, in some big country that has real wilderness, I hope you get to experience it and appreciate it. And if you're anything like me, and you do seek out solitude sometimes, I hope you find it and make the most of it. Thanks for joining us. And if you enjoyed this video, give the like button a little tickle and subscribe and ring that notification bell. I'll see you next time, and if you can, get into some of the great outdoors. Bye for now.